Hi everybody, Paul Gallagher. I'd like to show you today with this short video how to use the graduated filter tool in Adobe Camera Raw. It goes without saying that the functionality and the power of that particular tool is identical in Lightroom. So if you are using Lightroom, all of what I'm going to say today applies. Okay, so this is the image. It's of one of the beaches in northern Norway, in Lofoten. And what I want to do is try and bring the sky down with the graduated filter. I'm going to go Filter and come down to Camera Raw Filter, which is there. Okay, now this will pop it back into Adobe Camera Raw. Now we can see it's quite tight in the window, in the frame. And I like to work with a bit more white space around it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command minus, and then that gives us a nice white space around the image. The other reason why I like to do that is because I don't like to start the graduated filter on the very edge of the image. I like to start it just above. The reason for that is if you start it on the edge of the very edge of the image, sometimes I think the top of the sky looks a little bit too dark and a bit too heavy, and I'm not particularly keen on that. So it's nice to begin just above. So the graduated filter resides here. It resides between the adjustment brush and the radial filter. We click on that now. What we'll do is we'll get a little cross above the image. Okay. Now what we left click and we hold it down and we drag down, and we'll see two lines appearing. One green dashed line and one red dashed line, and also a green dot and a red dot. Okay. Now the green line denotes the beginning of the graduated filter, and the red line denotes the end of the graduated filter. Now as you left click, hold it and drag down, you'll notice that it kind of swings around a little bit, and it's going to be a little bit disconcerting. To stop that and to hold it into a horizontal position, just hold the shift key and keep it held down, and then that will be perfectly horizontal. And we're just going to pull it down to around about there. Okay. Now what this has done is applied the same over here, the same adjustments that I did with another image previously. And the way to correct that is if you position your cursor anywhere within the filter between the green and red lines, and right click, and then just come down to reset local correction settings, and that will zero all these sliders. Okay, so we're in a completely neutral starting point. Now then, a number of things. What we've got here is the green dashed line, the red dashed line, and they can be slightly irritating because they're kind of covering up the image. They are in fact overlaying the image, and they can be quite confusing. If you want to switch that off and get rid of it, clear it, you could just click on overlay down here, which is the very bottom, and when we click on that, you'll notice it vanishes. It goes. You click on it again and it comes back on. Okay. Now, for the purpose of this image, which I'm just going to darken the sky like we would with a graduated filter in the field. Most people that use this generally want to darken an edge of an image or the base of the image, but mostly commonly is the sky. You want to bring the sky down a little bit. And so for this, I'm just going to come over to the exposure slider and slide it to the left. Slowly but surely slide. Let's exaggerate it a bit so you can see it. And also maybe we could add a little bit of clarity to get it really punchy. And then if we want to see what it looks like, first and foremost, let's get rid of the overlay there. Okay, so we can see it. And then what we can do is there's four boxes at the bottom, like a Y shape, left and right arrow, and then there's a box there which looks like a box containing sliders. And what that does is when we left click on that, it switches on and off our graduated filter so we can see a before and after. Let's left click that. You can see before and after. Before and after. Now one of the frustrating things is that it's darkening the tops of the mountains, which is a pet hate of mine. I don't particularly like that. But there is a way of managing that. And I'm going to show you what that is now. If we put our overlay back on, when we click on the overlay, we can see it's gone grey. Okay. Because when you do the before and after down here, it assumes that you've finished with that particular graduated filter. And that's okay, we can switch it back on. Now, the way to switch it back on, if we come to the dots here, the image goes mostly red, and this is showing you the mask in the background of the filter, and it shows you the top of the sky is just beginning to poke out. Okay, but when we click on that little circle, grey circle, it reactivates that particular graduated filter. So it's back with us. Now let's have a look at these mountains going dark, which is slightly frustrating. The way we can manage that with this particular image is using range mask here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click there and bring it down to luminance. Okay, now the easiest way to use range mask with this particular filter is if we hold down our Alt key and click on the left hand edge of Luminance Range, what we'll see is a mask. And it's a typical Adobe Camera Raw Photoshop type mask. The white is going to reveal and the black is protected. Okay, so whatever's going pale grey and white, which is the top of the sky, will be affected by our adjustments. But what's happening is we can see over here, this part here, if we left click and put it on again, we can see that's pale grey. So part of our mountains there are going to be darkened with the sky. Now what Luminance Range does is it looks at tonality and the luminance in here. And as we left click and slide to the right, we'll see things poking through the mask. And we'll see things going black. And what's going black there is the tops of the mountains. So effectively what we're doing is we're going to be protecting the tops of the mountains. Okay. And we can see as that goes black now, we can see. Okay, now when we've let go of that, we've let go of the Alt key. Now if we do the before and after, we can see that the tops of the mountains are hardly going dark at all, maybe a tiny bit, but in the main we can retain the tonality of the mountains there. Now bear in mind, this is not the same as using a graduated filter out in the field. What we've got here is a graduated filter that's going to put an effect on something in your image here. The graduated filter out in the field will narrow your dynamic range, and if you've not got that out in the field, you won't get that here. But that's the basic use of the graduated filter. So go back, have a go and enjoy it, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for listening.